They say you never truly know someone until life tests them. I thought I knew my husband, Marcus. I thought I knew the man I'd stood beside for 7 years, the one who held me through thunderstorms, who whispered promises in the dark. But last Tuesday, I learned the truth. It started as an experiment. Maybe that sounds cruel. But after months of feeling invisible, his late-night calls with his sister Naomi, the way he brushed off my little victories at work, I needed to know. Did Marcus love me, or just the stability I brought into his life? So I told him. I walked into our kitchen, the smell of burnt coffee lingering from the morning rush, and whispered, "Marcus, I lost my job." For a heartbeat, silence. His spoon clinked against the bowl. He didn't hug me. He didn't ask, "Are you okay?" Instead, his jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed like I'd confessed a crime. "Leilani, what do you mean you lost it? You can't just..." He stopped, pulled his phone from the counter, and stepped into the living room. First, I thought he was calling a recruiter, maybe even a friend. But when his voice dropped low, sharp, almost panicked, my heart froze. He wasn't calling for me. He was calling Naomi, his sister. I leaned against the doorway, listening. And what I heard shattered me. I pressed myself against the wall, every nerve in my body alive. His voice was urgent, almost trembling. "Naomi, it's happened. She lost it." "Yeah, just like we thought." Just like we thought. My chest tightened. What did that mean? Marcus didn't even lower his tone when he added, "You'll have to step in now. We can't risk losing everything." My heart banged against my ribs. Step in. Who was we? What did she have to do with my losing a job? I edged closer, my bare feet silent on the wood floor, and caught more of their conversation. Naomi's voice was sharp, cutting through the quiet like glass breaking. "See, I told you she wouldn't last. That's why I kept the papers ready. Don't worry, Marcus, we'll fix this. We'll make sure it doesn't all collapse." Papers. Ready. Collapse. My mind spun, trying to stitch those words together into something that made sense. But all I could feel was betrayal, like cold water pouring down my spine. I wanted to step in, demand answers. But some part of me, a part one didn't even know existed, kept me rooted in silence. Because deep down I knew, if I interrupted, they'd shut down. I'd never hear the truth. So I listened. Marcus sighed into the phone. "She's fragile right now. Don't push her yet. But you'll need to move fast." I bit my lips so hard it bled. Fragile. No, heartbroken maybe. Furious, absolutely. But fragile. He spoke like I was some burden they had to carry. I grabbed a pen and scribbled down every word I could catch, my hand shaking. I didn't know why. Maybe instinct, maybe survival. But something told me these words mattered. Finally, Naomi said, "Meet me tomorrow. Bring her signature files. If she's out, we take over." I gasped so softly it was barely air leaving my lungs. Her words weren't just casual concern. They were instructions. Plan. A coup waiting for its moment. Take over what? I looked around my own living room. The beige couch we'd picked together, the framed photos of vacations, the bills stacked neatly on the coffee table. Were they planning to take this? Our life. Our home. Or something even bigger. Something I didn't know existed. Marcus hung up and turned, and I barely had time to dart back into the kitchen, heart hammering like I'd run a marathon. I forced my breathing slow, my hands gripping the counter so tightly my knuckles went white. He walked back in, casual, almost smug. "Don't worry, Leilani. We'll figure it out." He kissed my forehead, but his lips were cold, mechanical. I swallowed the scream clawing its way up my throat. Because now I knew 2 things for certain. 1. Marcus and Naomi had been waiting for this moment. 2. Whatever they were planning. I wasn't supposed to know. But I did. And I wasn't about to stay silent. I barely slept that night. Every creak in the house felt sinister. Every shadow seemed to whisper Naomi's name. I kept replaying the phone call in my head. Her words, his tone, that chilling phrase. "If she's out, we take over." By morning I'd made up my mind. I needed proof. Marcus left early, muttering something about meeting a client, though his briefcase looked strangely fuller than usual. As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, I locked the front door behind him and let out the breath I'd been holding. The house was silent. Too silent. I started with his desk in the home office. My fingers trembled as I slid open drawers, rifling through papers. Receipts, old bank statements, insurance documents. Nothing unusual. Until I found a brown envelope tucked behind a stack of magazines. Inside were photocopies, contracts, forms with my name typed neatly at the top. And at the bottom, my signature. Except, it wasn't mine. I dropped the papers onto the desk, my throat tightening. Naomi's words rang in my ears. Bring her signature files. Forgery. They'd been forging my signature. I scanned the papers, my stomach dropping with each word I read. Power of attorney. Banking access. Property titles. They'd prepared everything to make me disappear. Not just from my job but from my life. One document had a date. March 14th. Almost 3 months ago. They'd been planning this long before my little test. I pressed a hand to my mouth, nausea swirling inside me. The betrayal wasn't about my job at all. It was bigger, deeper. Marcus and Naomi weren't panicking because I lost income. They were waiting for this moment, using it as an excuse to activate their plan. The doorbell rang. I jumped, my pulse spiking. Peeking through the curtain, I saw Naomi herself standing there. Crisp white blouse, manicured nails, tapping her phone. She carried a sleek black folder under her arm. Froze. If I answered, she'd know I'd been digging. If I didn't, she'd grow suspicious. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Marcus. Naomi will swing by to help with paperwork. Just cooperate, babe. It's easier this way. Easier this way. I backed away from the window, my legs trembling. Naomi rang the bell again, firmer this time. Then she bent down and slid something under the door. Single page. When she left, I snatched it up, my hands shaking. It was a letterhead document. My name at the top. And bold words across the center. Resignation notice. Effective immediately. Signed by me. Except again, it wasn't my handwriting. Tears blurred my vision. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was real. They wanted me gone. Out of the company. Out of the finances. Out of everything. I clutched the forged resignation in my hands, the paper crumpling as I whispered. Why, Marcus? Why would you do this to me? But deep down I knew the answer. Because to him, I wasn't his partner. I was his ticket. And he just cashed me out. I held the crumpled resignation notice in my hand until the edges dug into my skin. My first instinct was to storm into Marcus's face, throw the forged papers at him, and demand an explanation. But anger without proof would only make me look unstable. Naomi thrived on that image of me. I needed something bigger, evidence that could expose them both. That evening, Marcus came home whistling like a man with no secrets. He kissed my cheek lightly, too lightly, then headed straight to the shower. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the steam curling under the bathroom door, and made a silent promise. I will not be their victim. Not anymore. So I set a trap. I left my phone recording on the kitchen counter, tucked beneath a folded towel, and pretended to fall asleep on the couch. The lights dimmed, the house sank into silence. But I kept one eye open, waiting. It didn't take long. Around midnight, Marcus padded into the kitchen, phone in hand, whispering. Yeah, she believes it. Tomorrow we'll finalize the transfer. Naomi, it's perfect timing, she's desperate now. Just make sure the signatures match. We'll get the account and the house by Friday. I gripped the blanket tighter, heart racing. The account. The house. They weren't just trying to cut me out, they wanted everything. When Marcus slipped back into bed, I lay still, my mind turning like a locked engine finally sparking to life. I had the recording. Proof. But I needed an ally. Someone outside the family who could help me navigate this storm. The next morning I called my old college friend, Jasmine. She was sharp, loyal, and thankfully a paralegal. I told her everything in hushed tones over coffee at a small cafe downtown. Her eyes widened as I slid the resignation notice and forged contracts across the table. "Leilani," she whispered, gripping my hand. "This isn't just betrayal. This is fraud. If you play this right, you can not only stop them, you can turn the law against them." Her words were like oxygen. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of strength. We devised a plan. I'd pretend to cooperate, signing whatever Naomi pushed in front of me. But hidden beneath my sweater sleeve, I'd wear a discreet pen camera Jasmine lent me, capturing every word, every instruction. That evening Naomi returned. Her perfume wafted through the air like poison as she laid the black folder on my dining table. "Leilani," she said sweetly, "this is just procedure. Marcus and I are helping you transition. Sign here, and you won't have to worry about a thing." Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. I glanced at Marcus. He stood behind her, arms crossed, eyes hard. He didn't even blink. I swallowed my rage, forcing my hand to steady as I picked up the pen. My hidden camera blinked once, recording. And in that moment I realized something powerful. They thought they were cornering me. But really, I was about to corner them. Naomi's nails clicked against the table as she slid the papers closer to me. "It's just routine," she cooed, her voice laced with poison disguised as sugar. "Think of this as Marcus and me lightening your load." I forced my lips into a weak smile, pen trembling in my hand, though not from nerves, from rage. My hidden camera captured everything: the forged resignation notice, Naomi's coaching, Marcus's silent approval. "Why now?" I asked, keeping my voice soft, small. "Why push this through so quickly?" Naomi's eyes glittered. "Because, dear, you were never really built for this life. Marcus and we're the real backbone. You were just along for the ride." Her words pierced deeper than any forged signature. I glanced at Marcus, silently begging him to defend me. But he looked away, his jaw set. That silence told me everything. He agreed. Naomi leaned closer, lowering her voice until it was almost a whisper. "Besides, this isn't just about money. Marcus deserves stability. Partner who understands business. Someone who won't crumble the second life gets hard. That's why." She paused, savoring the moment like a cat toying with prey. "I'll be stepping in." My stomach turned. Stepping in. Her smile widened. As his partner. In every sense of the word. The pen nearly slipped from my fingers. I stared at her, at Marcus, at the silent exchange between them that suddenly made years of little red flags click into place. Late-night calls. Business trips that didn't add up. The way his eyes lingered on her a second too long at family gatherings. Naomi wasn't just trying to steal my role in the finances. She wanted my marriage. I pushed back from the table, my chair screeching against the floor. "This is insane." Marcus finally spoke, his voice flat. "Leilani, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Naomi and we've got it under control." I blinked. My husband. The man I loved. The man I trusted with every secret. Standing there, telling me his sister was the one he wanted beside him. It felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. Naomi smirked, tapping the folder. "Sign and you can walk away peacefully. Don't and, well, things get messy." Tears stung my eyes, but I bit them back. Not here. Not in front of them. I wasn't going to give Naomi the satisfaction. Instead, I took the pen, scribbled a swirl across the page. Not my real signature, but close enough to stall them. Naomi grinned, satisfied. Marcus exhaled like a burden had lifted. But inside, something in me had shifted. The woman they thought was fragile, broken, defeated was gone. I walked away from that table with Naomi's smirk burned into my memory, Marcus's betrayal carved into my chest, and one promise seared into my soul. They would regret underestimating me. That night I locked myself in the office and replayed the hidden camera footage until my eyes burned. Marcus's whisper in the dark. Naomi's coaching voice, smooth and patient. The way Marcus said, We'll get the account and the house by Friday, like they were signing off on a prize. I watched each frame, pausing on tiny tells. Naomi's cufflink with a little gold lion, Marcus's nervous thumb on the phone screen, the slight tremor in his voice when he lied. I saved the audio. I copied the files to 3 separate USB drives. I uploaded a backup to a secure cloud account Jasmine set up for me. Proof was one thing. Power was another. I had the former. Now I needed the latter. I called Jasmine at dawn. She arrived with a thermos of coffee and a quiet fury that matched mine. "We need a plan," she said, eyes steady. "Public, legal, and surgical. We don't throw accusations. We present facts." We mapped it out. First, a meeting with the bank manager who handled our joint accounts. If Naomi and Marcus had already filed transfers, we could freeze them. Second, a consultation with an attorney to file charges for forgery and fraud. Third, a controlled confrontation, something to expose them without giving them time to cover tracks. "Don't go alone," Jasmine warned. "And don't confront them head-on until the bank gives you a green light. These people think in steps. We have to think 2 steps ahead." I listened like a soldier taking orders. I felt steadier than I had in weeks. For the first time, fear was not the louder voice. Strategy was. That afternoon I dressed deliberately. No victim clothes, no messy hair. I chose a navy blazer that made my shoulders look square and my face look deliberate. Naomi loved to call me fragile. I chose armor instead. At the bank, the manager's brows rose as I laid out the documents. The forged resignation. The power of attorney forms. The recorded clip of Marcus and Naomi plotting. He paled when he heard the audio. Within an hour, the manager had flagged the accounts and put a temporary hold on any transfers. "We'll need a sworn statement," he said, pointing to a stack of forms. "But this is serious. You did the right thing coming here first." Small victory. Breath. A thread of relief. Next, the attorney. I sat across from her, watching her eyes flick over dates, stamps, and signatures. "You have a strong case for criminal charges," she said. "Forgery, conspiracy, attempted theft of assets. With that recording, we can get emergency protections and restraining orders." My pulse thudded, not with panic this time, but with a fierce, hot hope. But power can be intoxicating and dangerous. Naomi had influence. Marcus had family who would rally. I knew going public could turn our private war into a spectacle. I knew the risk of things spiraling. Yet every cell in me wanted them to feel the cold floor I'd felt the day I found the forged papers. That night, Jasmine and I planned the final move. A controlled family dinner, on my terms. I would invite Marcus and Naomi under the guise of signing final paperwork. The bank manager would be on a conference call. The attorney would stand ready. The recording would play. As we set the date, my hands trembled. Not from fear, but from the electricity of what was about to happen. I pictured Marcus's face when the audio filled the room. I pictured Naomi's smile faltering. I pictured our life taken back. And yet one thought nagged at me, a shadow behind the plan. What if they had a card I didn't know about? What if there was a secret I hadn't uncovered? One more ledger, one more ally. I downloaded the footage one last time, eyes grave. Then I saved it again. Because the next night would either break them or me. The table was set, the lights low, the air thick with tension I could almost taste. I had chosen every detail deliberately. The heavy oak table Naomi had always called too dark. The crystal glasses Marcus once bragged were investment grade. The dishes from our wedding registry. If this was going to be war, I wanted them surrounded by symbols of what they had tried to steal. Marcus arrived first, his tie loose, eyes darting like he knew something was off. "You look composed," he said, kissing my cheek stiffly. "Guess you're ready to finalize things." I smiled thinly. "Almost." Naomi swept in minutes later, perfume announcing her before her heels clicked across the tile. She carried that black folder like a weapon. Her lips curved in satisfaction as she slid into the seat across from me. "Let's make this easy, Leilani. Sign and it's done." "Easy," She loved that word. I poured wine into 3 glasses, my hands steady, though my heart thundered. Jasmine was nearby, hidden in the next room with the attorney on speaker. The bank manager waited on standby, phone muted but connected. I had my camera rolling again. Naomi opened the folder. Here's the final resignation, along with transfer confirmations. Once you sign, Marcus and I will take care of everything. You can't rebuild. Her tone dripped with false kindness, like she was offering charity. Marcus reached across the table, touching my hand. Leilani, it's best this way. You'll thank us one day. I stared at his hand, then at his face. I thought about every night I stayed late at work so he wouldn't worry about bills. Every smile I forced when he bragged about our accomplishments that were really mine. Every time I ignored Naomi's whispers because I believed in him. And then I laughed. A sharp, brittle sound that made them both freeze. Thank you, I said softly. For stealing my life. For forging my signature. For planning to erase me like I was nothing. Marcus's face paled. Naomi's eyes narrowed. Careful, she said. But I didn't stop. I leaned forward, my voice steady now. You know what the funny part is? You thought I was blind, fragile, too weak to notice. But guess what? I tapped my phone, and the room filled with Marcus's voice. His midnight whisper. Naomi, it's perfect timing. Just make sure the signatures match. We'll get the account and the house by Friday. The audio echoed like a bullet fired in slow motion. Marcus lunged forward, slamming his palm on the table. Leilani, this isn't. But Naomi cut him off, her face twisted. You recorded us. Oh, I recorded everything, I said calmly. Including your sweet little speech about being Marcus's real partner. Should I play that part next? Her cheeks flushed scarlet. You don't know what you're doing, Marcus hissed. This could ruin us. No, I said, standing slowly. It saves me. It ruins you. I reached into my blazer pocket and pulled out the second phone, already connected to the attorney. They've heard it all. The bank has heard it. By tomorrow morning, the law will hear it too. Naomi slammed her folder shut. You stupid girl. You think this will hold up? Marcus and I. Cut her off. Marcus and you. Finally said it out loud, huh? Her lips curled. For the first time her mask cracked. He deserves better than you. He's wasted years chained to your mediocrity. You think you're strong because you made a little money. He's mine, Leilani. He always was. You were just a placeholder. The words hit like knives, but instead of bleeding I burned. Marcus lowered his head, silent. He didn't deny it. Not once. I let the silence stretch until it was suffocating. Then I said, clear and sharp. Then you can keep each other. But you won't keep my name. Or my house. Or a cent of what I built. Naomi's laugh was brittle. We'll see. And that's when the attorney's voice boomed from the speaker. Actually, we will see. Ms. Leilani, you've provided ample proof of fraud and forgery. Both of you, her voice cut like steel, should expect immediate legal action. Naomi froze. Marcus's mouth fell open. I looked at them both, the wine untouched between us. Dinner's over. I gathered the folder, my evidence, and walked out, leaving them choking in the silence they had created. But as I closed the door behind me, I heard Naomi hiss. Don't worry. I have another plan. And I knew this war wasn't finished. Not yet. I woke the next morning to a flood of notifications. My phone buzzed non-stop. Texts, emails, missed calls. At first, I thought it was Jasmine or the attorney updating me. But when I opened the first message, my stomach dropped. Naomi had moved faster than I imagined. All over social media, posts were spreading. Screenshots, cropped emails, half-truths twisted into weapons. Leilani mismanaged company funds. She abandoned her responsibilities. She's unstable, can't handle stress. And worse, pictures of me. Ones I hadn't posted. Ones I knew only Marcus or Naomi could have had access to. A private photo from a beach trip. A blurred shot of me leaving the office late at night, eyes tired. Used as proof of their narrative. The fragile, reckless wife who snapped. By mid-morning, 3 colleagues had called me. "Leilani, what's going on? Naomi's saying you signed over everything. That you resigned. Resigned. The forged notice. She had gone public with it." I gripped the counter, my breath shallow. She wasn't just stealing my life. She was rewriting my story, painting me as the villain of my own downfall. Marcus hadn't called. Not once. His silence screamed louder than any headline. I forwarded the posts to Jasmine. Within minutes she called back, her voice tight. "This is defamation. It's reckless. But listen, don't respond online. Let her dig her own grave. We'll file counterclaims." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. My throat ached with unshed tears. But I refused to let Naomi's lies define me. Still, every ping of my phone was a reminder. She was relentless. She wanted me erased not only on paper but in people's minds. By afternoon, Jasmine and the attorney had arranged an emergency injunction. Naomi's posts were flagged, some removed. But the damage, the whispers, they lingered. That night, alone in my quiet house, I sat with the evidence spread across the table. Recordings, forged signatures, resignation notices. Proof of truth. Proof of betrayal. And I realized something Naomi would never understand. Reputation built on lies can crumble overnight. But truth has roots. I whispered to myself, steadying my heart. This is not the end. This is the storm before the sun. Because if Naomi wanted war in the public eye, then I would give her a war she could never win. The knock on my door that night nearly froze my blood. I opened it to find Marcus standing there. tie askew, eyes bloodshot. His whole frame sagging like a man twice his age. "Leilani, please. We need to talk." I wanted to slam the door, but curiosity, dangerous, sharp curiosity, made me step aside. He shuffled in, collapsing into the armchair like a man defeated. "I didn't know Naomi would go this far," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "The posts, the smear campaign. I didn't agree to that." I laughed bitterly. "But you agreed to forgery. To stealing everything I worked for. To replacing me." His eyes filled with shame. He didn't deny it. "I was weak. She said she'd protect us. She said she loved me." The words hung heavy in the room. I crossed my arms. "And you believed her? Your own sister?" He winced. "Half-sister," he whispered. "We share a father. And that man, he left her nothing. She's been bitter for years. She told me the only way we could both have security was if we cut you out. He broke off, shaking. "I was a coward. I let her drive everything." For a moment silence stretched. Then I leaned closer, my voice low. "So why are you here, Marcus? What do you want from me now?" He met my eyes, tears brimming. "To confess. To help you. Naomi's planning to move funds offshore tomorrow. If you act fast you can stop her. I'll testify. I'll give you everything." It wasn't remorse that moved me, it was survival. But still, his words cracked the final piece of Naomi's armor. With Marcus flipping, she would lose her strongest shield. "Call Jasmine." Within hours, documents were filed. By dawn, Naomi's accounts were frozen. Her attempt to funnel funds abroad blocked. The evidence we gathered, paired with Marcus's confession, sealed her fate. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled without shaking. The storm was breaking. But victory tasted complicated. Marcus looked at me with pleading eyes, like a dog waiting for scraps of forgiveness. Can we fix us?" he asked softly. I stared at him. My husband. My betrayer. My almost destroyer. And I realized something with absolute clarity. There are some fractures that don't heal. The courtroom buzzed with whispers the day Naomi appeared in shackles. She still carried herself like a queen, chin high, eyes defiant. But when the recordings played, when the forged signatures were shown, when Marcus himself took the stand and admitted everything, her mask cracked. The judge's gavel came down like thunder. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Naomi's empire of lies collapsed in an instant. Marcus avoided my eyes as the verdict was read. He looked small, broken, like the man I once loved had shriveled into a shadow. His sentence was lighter. Probation, financial penalties, thanks to his cooperation. But his punishment was heavier in another way. He had lost me. When I walked out of that courthouse, sunlight hit my face like a promise. Jasmine hugged me tight, whispering, "You did it. You survived." But I hadn't just survived. I had transformed. Naomi wanted to erase me. Marcus wanted to replace me. Instead, I reclaimed myself. I sold the house Naomi once coveted and moved into a loft of my own. I restarted my career, this time building something with my name stamped clearly across it, no one else's shadow attached. And slowly I let joy back in. Morning coffee without dread. Laughter that didn't feel borrowed. Nights of sleep that weren't haunted. Sometimes I still hear Naomi's voice in my head, sneering that I was fragile. But now I smile. Because fragile things break. I didn't. And to every woman listening, every Leilani sitting quietly at her table, doubting her strength, remember this. You are stronger than the people who underestimate you. 'Cause I was. And that is the story of how I lost my job, tested my husband, and uncovered a betrayal that nearly destroyed me, until I chose to rise.